with things. If you got questions for him, fine, but careful getting into it. So where are we at, Kent? Thank you very much. Okay, we'll call the regular meeting council for April 12th to order at 3 p.m. Ask for a motion from Councilor Cooey that council adopt the agenda for the regular meeting council April 12th as amended to add item 7.6 being the Volunteer of the Year recipients and item 8.2 just being a local COVID update from Chris.
I will give you that amended motion, Mayor Snodgrass.
All in favor? Carried. Consent agenda. That's for motion from Councillor Moore that the following meeting minutes are adopted by omnibus motion in accordance with the council's procedure bylaw. March 8th, special council minutes. March 19th, special council minutes. March 22nd, regular council minutes. March 22nd, special council minutes, as well as our bi-weekly strategic priorities chart.
I will make that motion, Mayor Snodgrass.
Thank you very much. All in favor? Carried. Kara, still no public comments, correct?
That is correct.
Thank you. So we'll go straight into the public hearing. So this public hearing is held pursuant to the Municipal Government Act, RSA 2000, Chapter M26 and amendments thereto. I hereby declare the public hearing relating to Bylaw 4594-2021 now open at 3:01 p.m.
So good afternoon. The purpose of Bylaw 4594-2021 is to make changes to the existing land use bylaw. The public hearing has been advertised on the Town of High River's webpage and social media pages, as well as in the March 26, 2021 Town Crier. Additionally, the public hearing was posted on the town's outdoor notice board. Hard copies of the bylaw have been available for the public at the reception desk at Town Hall, and to date, 3 requests to speak and 1 letter of submission have been received.
Following rules of conduct will be followed during this public hearing. Presentation should be brief and to the point, shall be limited to 5 minutes in length. The order of presentations will be Planning Department, those supporting the bylaw, those opposing the bylaw, and any other person deemed to be affected by the bylaw. Council may ask questions of the speakers after each presentation for clarification purposes, but there will be no debating the bylaw. Respect for staff, developers, council, and public will be maintained at all times. I'll hand it over to the Planning Department.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First reading for this bylaw was held on March 8th, 2021. The recommended amendments are based upon comments and concerns received during the land use bylaw monitoring program. The amendments were initially discussed with members of council at the Committee of the Whole meeting on August 10th, 2020. Further refinements have been made by administration to the bylaw, and those amendments were presented as part of first reading. As discussed at the presentation for first reading, some of the key changes to the bylaw include a process to allow applicants to obtain a temporary building permit before they to start their development, which includes footings and foundations only if a building permit is required during the 21-day public appeal period, but they must stop if an appeal from the public is received. Changes to liquor store and cannabis store regulations to align them with each other. The addition of regulations for short-term rentals, as in Airbnbs typically. The addition of regulations for pageantry features. Pageantry features include signs, banners, and flags to advertise new and developing communities. Reducing the landscaping requirements for 1 to 2 dwelling units by only requiring 1 tree and 2 shrubs per lot. Adding regulations that would allow banner signs for commercial uses, as opposed to only allowing banner signs for the advertising of community groups and community events. The removal of the expiration dates for signage development permits, the addition of community amenity space standards for developments with 8 dwelling units or more, and the addition of bicycle storage requirements for developments with 5 dwelling units or more. This concludes the Planning Division's presentation on this bylaw. Are there any questions or comments? Thank you.
Zoom. One question for you from me, Sarah, is development permits. And do we require a development permit for every single build in High River, whether it's infill or new development?
We do require a development permit for buildings. There are some exceptions. For example, an existing building where they're not adding any additional dwelling units would not require a development permit. In addition to an existing building where they're not going above and beyond an additional 25%. So there are a few key types of development that don't require development permits, and those are all listed in under the uses section for each zone under development permits not required. But for the most part, we do require them.
Okay, if it's a bare lot in the existing neighborhood of the southwest area of High River, it's a bare lot, for whatever reason, a new house is going in, it requires a full development permit.
Yes, a new house would require a full development permit.
Okay. I do not have any other questions. So we have no one who is supporting the bylaw changes. We do have 3 that are. Doug, are you hooked up there, ready to go?
Can you hear me, Craig?
I got you, Doug. Yep, you go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't sure what the question was. I was trying to figure things out. My 10-year-old wasn't here to help me get going.
The floor is yours. So you tell us what your concerns are with the bylaw, Doug.
With which one?
The
Which
whole
bylaw?
the land use bylaw.
Well, I guess my biggest complaint would be that these are implemented in existing subdivisions where I don't think they need to be. I mean, if you look at the Southwest, for example, there's such a mixed bag of housing that went on in there. You know, from Scott Tannis's to 7th Street, where we've got a bag of housing that went on in there. 911, you know, from Scott Tannis's to 7th Street, where we've got a bag of housing that went on in there. 6th Street, 911, you know, from Scott Tannis's to 7th Street, where we've got a bag of housing that went. They've got 41 feet. You know, we have people coming right now to build, and they're being told, you think you've heard from Audrey Hall from Nanton and the town saying you initially said that you can't have a front attached garage. She's pushing 80, I'm thinking. She said, you know, I need a front garage at my age. And then they went on to say, well, you can have it, but you can only have it with the width of the cutout. Well, the cutouts are 3 meters, 9 feet, 11 inches. So, I mean, I know we can go in front of variance for that. And, you know, even the Hamptons, same thing up there. There isn't 1 3-meter driveway. We can go in front of variance. We can wait the 21 days, pay you guys a fee, and get through it. But to me, it's just the fee. And now this newest where we can move ahead before the 21 days. That's very fresh, I think, to the town. I mean, that's all fair and fine as long as there's no pushback after, I look at the one that Farley's doing right now on 6th Street, and his front double garage is 4 feet off the sidewalk. So, I mean, the town planning and engineering is obviously approving things that maybe people aren't really on board or understand what's going on or how to appeal it. But in some instances, like ones, and I'm not trying to bash anybody else's building, but 4 feet off the sidewalk for a double wide garage, that driver can't even see out the garage before he's on the sidewalk. So I guess, in my opinion, the town isn't being too stringent on what they're allowing and what they're not allowing. But I can't understand why these all have to fall into play in subdivisions that are existing that never had this type of control before. And, I guess depending who is sitting in your chair, Craig, things played a role back in those days too. So I just think that as far as that neck of the woods go, and I'm not talking about the new subdivisions as of yet, but the existing subdivisions, I just don't think I don't think there's any gain by having to go through variance if it's something that you can get away with anyways, as long as we pay the town a fee, we wait our 21 days. Now we don't have to wait the 21 days. I found that out last week. I didn't have a variance, but I was waiting for information and whatnot. So knowing that now, I think it's a good thing as long as nobody pushes back when you've got your footings and foundations. If anybody pushed back on that 6th Street house 4 feet off the sidewalk right now, it'd be a little late. They're standing trusses as we speak. So, I don't know that there'd be any benefit to allowing that to happen on certain developments, certainly ones that are just so non-typical for High River. I've never seen a driveway that close or garage that close to a sidewalk. But that's just one. There's a whole bunch of different things that fall into the bylaw. There's or not, like our driveway widths, our distance from our front door to our front garage. I mean, they all play a role. And then the biggest one falling into Scott's newest subdivision is the one that that I pushed back on right from the get-go, was the fact that we can't have a front garage if we have a back alley. And I've said it to you, Craig, that I think that we're going to lose people coming to town on that note. I don't see why we can't have a mixed bag like we have in the past. I don't know why we have to be labeled as one of the only towns in Alberta that you can only have a front garage if you don't have a back alley. And I personally, and I've said it, you know my position on it, and I'm not a big fan of it, and I don't think it's going to help the town move forward with developing, and it's certainly not going to help us builders. I mean, the new subdivision of Scott's, there are 44 lots, a handful of them are walkout, and the rest are everybody has to have a front garage. Well, not everybody wants a front garage. I know there's a certain amount of people that will take the rear garage, but there's a lot of people that will go up the road to Okotoks to have a front attached garage. And I think we all know that. If you can't have it here, they're going somewhere.
Okay. Question for you, Doug, on these variances, because it's a big thing that I'm hearing and I'm experiencing myself in this, living in the Southwest and watching what's gone on for the last few years with builds. Who do you think should be making the call on a variance? Previously, you just mentioned, you said it depends on who's kind of on council at the time. It's how it used to go. We've sort of, when we did the new land use bylaw, we said, well, no, if we've got the guidelines in place, it should come out of the political sphere and just allow administration to do this. I'm not sure if that's a fair way to do it for administration. I'm not sure if it's the right way to do it with seeing what's going on. What are your thoughts on it as to who should be making that call?
I guess in my opinion that the variances shouldn't have come into play in existing subdivisions. The subdivisions were developed. So take Sidorski's, for example, they have their own architectural control. There's
Right.
very few houses in there with no front garage. There's no houses in there with a front garage with a 3-meter wide driveway. There's very few houses in there with the distance from the front door to the garage at 1 meter. You know, and I don't know that any of these things, other than if council, I know that the count yourself and council passed this unanimously, but I don't know that there's much gain by not having. I mean, I think that we're going to lose people coming to town based on some of the guidelines that have been set.
Right.
And driveway widths is one. Front garages is the major. And I truly believe, talking with people and doing deals with people with houses and saying, well, you know, we can do this. And if we're going to look into the new subdivision, you can't have a front garage if you have a back alley. And basically the people that I've spoke to have said, well, it might not be the town for us then. So I worry about that to an extent. I worry about it for the builders and for the tax base for the town. And I guess that I just don't feel that those big changes are to any advantage to the town other than a visual. And I'm sure that that's what you guys were after. From the meetings that I've been to, I went to some of them and then was pretty much discouraged after, you know, talking to people at the meeting, and you'd ask me a question and the answer would be just no. Right. So
Right.
Keep my lunch fee, I'm done. But I think that the bylaws aren't going to help the town, and certainly not in the existing subdivisions. The Southwest, like I said, Craig and council and everybody listening, that it's such a mixed bag back there that, you know, with what lots are left and what's coming available, the changes that you guys are implementing with these bylaws aren't going to make a lot of difference in your visual because of the amount of houses that are already existing and the guidelines they had prior to the changes that have been made. It's a real, like I said, you know, looking at the Southwest is such a mixed bag over there that I don't know what we're trying to achieve really by putting all the roadblocks up for people. You know, Audrey Hall, that she's been calling me regularly and, you know, is there anything you can do? And I said, well, I can, you know, and I did go in and talk, and I said, there's only so much I can do. And they're starting not to like me in there too much, Audrey. So I enjoy what I'm doing, you know, in my life, and I enjoy High River. I just think that we've got too many stipulations and roadblocks that I don't think that they're going to help us. They're going to work the opposite. We're going to have people going to other communities because they can't do what they want to do in High River. And that goes for Scotty's new subdivision and for the existing subdivision. So,
Well, that's why we wanted to do this and kind of do the 2-year monitoring program on it, Doug. And I think we've got more than enough information now to be able to.
Sure.
It's a bylaw, so it can be changed if need be. So that's why we're kind of going through. And I wanted, because I've talked to, well, yourself, Scott, and Sean, all three of you here today. I've talked to you. That's why I encouraged you to come today, because it's best if all of council hears it directly from you.
And I, you know, I'm not trying to be the Duke of Doubt or anything. I just, from what I've seen going on and the questions that I've been asked by people buying houses from us and looking to buy houses from us, that I think there should be some adjustments with the bylaw. And I think it would work in favor to the town. I don't think we'd lose, you know, Scott and Jerry, you know, when they do their subdivisions, and I'll give Brian Sidorski the same thing. They do a good job with architectural control. We don't get away with much. We do what we're told, and I think they set some pretty decent guidelines for good looking subdivisions. I mean, regardless council likes front garages or not. I don't think that there's anything bad about a front detached garage. And like I said, there's a certain amount of people that are in favor of or like a rear attached garage. But I think for, like talking to Audrey Hall there from Nanton, wants no part of the detached garage or rear garage because of her age and her mobility in years to come and that. So, and I think that plays a big role in High River too. I mean, I know we've got a lot of young here, but we do have a lot of seniors too. And a lot of seniors that at this time of their life are on their own, right? So some things like front attached garages, I believe, are a big thing for seniors and for a lot of families, regardless their age. But yeah, so I
Appreciate it.
you've known what my position has been since.
You've been heard a number of times, Doug.
Yeah. I get some short answers sometimes, Greg. So yeah, so
Okay, well, I better let these other guys have the floor a little bit here,
Sure.
Doug, and
okay.
through this.
Okay,
Much
thanks, Greg.
appreciated.
Thanks
Any
everybody for
questions?
listening.
Just hang on for 2 seconds, Doug. Any other questions from council for Doug? Getting no hands up, so we're good to go.
Be nice.
Attaboy. Thanks, Doug.
Okay, thanks, Greg.
Yeah, you bet. Next, we'll go to Scotty. Or I'll say Lori. I know she's the one running the computer, so
How's that?
there you go, buddy. You got your video on, Scotty? Love to see how you look today.
I don't know if it's on or not.
It's not, unless you're in the basement with the lights off.
How's that?
No, I haven't done it yet. I don't know. We're new to this.
We can hear you, Lori, so that's all that matters. So
Okay.
guys, go ahead.
I'm new to this, so just talk, Scott.
We're
Yes,
just,
I repeating what Doug has to say. Craig, like this variance, 21 days, like it's just for something that's zoned, got the right zoning on it, R1 or R2. There's other stuff like a bigger projects where you'd want that variance for something new that comes up in an area. That variance, 21 days, like you take the time to get your plans, and these guys are waiting two plus months to get going, and then you want to go in the spring, you know, you've been sitting around all winter, and then you hit the June rains, you only got 3 months to build in decent weather.
yeah,
And this variance makes no sense at all for certain projects. And then to the garages, Craig, like, I don't want to pick on you, but your father-in-law lives over here. You can drive through here anytime, and these people love their garages over here.
yeah.
They have their happy hours and they really enjoy them. I personally don't care for them, but it's worked out well over here. And then, like, for instance, I got 4 lots left over here, which one of the builders has bought. He has to wait that 21-day variance, and they're all villas on that street. Like, it's designed for that, and we got to go for approval for a front garage. And then if you go through our area and look, like, we pick areas where we will have, you know, and they look nice. Coming up on the Coal Trail, like they're back alleys and they have garages, and then you go to another area and you got your front garages. And my opinion, I'm like Doug, I think we'd really hurt ourselves not having garages, especially in this country, Craig. Never quit snowing. And then older people, if they have to walk, you know, and I'm talking the older people, they have a house and they put the garage at the back. They got to shovel their sidewalk to get to their garage. And I don't think that's a good idea. I would never mix up the two. I think it would look funny, but we'd pick our areas to have both. Like Okotoks don't do it, Calgary don't do it. I don't know why we're doing it.
We don't want to be Okotoks.
No, I get it.
That's the truth, right? But so a question for you, Scotty, on these, like on what's the difference from not from a builder, but from a homeowner buyer on why it's better to have a front attached garage versus a rear attached garage? Like,
Because you take up all your wall space, Craig, you can't get your bedrooms in. Right? Now think of this. You can only put up, on the average lot, you can only put up about a 1,400 square foot bungalow.
Yep.
So now when you put up a bungalow and you got a garage at the back of the house, you got no place for windows for your bedrooms. We've tried them, Craig. They've tried a couple over here, and they had a hard time selling them. If you're doing one bedroom, you can get away with it. And then as Doug didn't mention to you, like there's quite a mixture. Like there's a lot of people want a bungalow, eh? They don't want a 2-story, and that'd be the older people. So that's a gimme there.
Gotcha.
Craig, if we did the right thing or not, like our next phase, as you know, is all alleys, except for along the ridge, which basically they're saying, you know, we ain't allowed to build a garage at the back because we haven't got the room. So we're going to have to ask for garages on that area.
Yep.
And then I still wonder why the town wanted to get into paving alleys and looking after them for the next however many years. That's none of my business. I really don't care, but you got to question that, right?
Yeah, no. And it's a question I've got too. So another one on these variances, Scotty, like when you're looking, I think it's Mark Shearer that's got those other 4 lots or a couple of the lots that you're trying to fill in, right?
Right.
So, you know, I agree with you on the variance in this instance of not having a variance, because he's putting in exactly what's already there, the exact same style of house, right? So, you know, because it doesn't conform with the land use bylaw, why does it have to have a variance on it when it's exactly the same as everything else on the street and conforms with the design of that?
That's what I'm saying, Craig. The planners should have that go ahead to say, okay, this only makes sense. You know, it's just common.
Exactly. So that's kind of, I've got that question. Where it differs with this variance in the 21 days is when you come into the southwest and you're trying to put, you know, we call them snout houses, these front drive garages with the front door set way back over 3 meters sometimes. And how that affects the integrity of the existing homes,
right,
that are there. So that's where I say, okay, well, I think a variance is very important there, that you post it and allow the existing residents to have their say on the design. Would you agree with that? Or
that's kind of what I said, Craig, like talking like them saying exactly that. In different areas, you know, depending what they're doing or what's gone on, for sure, I think you're right. That should have a 21-day variance. But like our architectural controls, Craig, are so strong, like Doug was telling you. I don't think, and we've been at this business a long time, I don't think we need the planners telling us how to build a house in an area that's zoned for it.
Right.
Like we're not going to put a bunch of lots in and mix it up like the Southwest and go through that, right?
Yeah.
We'd be crazy to. We want to do the best we can too, because we have to sell them lots. Yeah,
no, and council's been, this is a question that's on here for discussion on these variances, that if it's an area like what Doug was talking about up in the Hamptons and you want to put in a house that conforms with every other house, why do we need a 21-day posting? But Southwest is definitely different. And when you look at the build that Doug was talking about, I drove by there not more than half an hour ago. That Farley's doing 4 feet off the sidewalk. She's that's damn tight.
It's really tight.
And you do the posting, you know, there's issues.
I haven't been down to 6th and 7th. I'm like you, I went the other day because Doug was concerned, and you know, I've lived around there all my life too, and I think it's nice. You know, you can't expect everybody, like you can see some yards are 80 feet back, right? You know, back in the day, but I got to tell you, it's, yeah, I guess you got to look at it and say, okay, well, when a house comes up for sale there, they go missing or a lot, right? There's got to be a reason. I don't.
Well,
think
and, you know, to me, what I love about the Southwest is the mixed bag.
Yeah, I do too. It don't bother me.
To a certain point, because, you know, and we look at these houses that have a garage more than 1 meter from the front door, basically, or the front facade, whatever it is. You know, on 7th, between the north end of 7th and 12th Avenue, there's only one other house that has a garage like that.
Yeah.
On 8th, there's only 6 houses
Yeah.
that have garages like that. On 6th, there's only 2. So, you know, but I experienced it right next door to me where a snout house went in prior to this land. They snuck it in before the land use bylaw.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty big difference,
Yeah.
right? Living beside one, or
I did
the
find it
street
odd.
facade, and like what Doug was saying, like how it looks to us. And that's the difference that people have to understand between how we look at things and how builders look at things, is that we're looking at the whole street, we're looking at the whole community and trying to figure out what is best when we're designing these communities. And we got to take information in from 1,000 different angles, right? So.
See, another thing, Craig, like, I don't know if this is the perfect time to bring it up, but just for instance, there was a few straggling lots over in this area, and they're supposed to bring the plans to us. We approve them. And the reason mostly for that is because, and a few have went through there and they shouldn't have. When them guys show up with that heavy equipment, they bugger the sidewalks. We take a damage deposit, $3,000 up to $4,000. So that's all got by now, and I've had all my concrete approved. And they're going to break the cement. You know, it happens. And that's why it has to. We want it to come through us so that I can keep control of these guys, mostly for your sake, for not having to put out the money for our sidewalk. It's very important. Like, I don't know if you guys have looked at, and that goes for the Southwest too. Like, are you guys taking enough money for these frontages on concrete when they destroy it, or your curb stops?
Yeah.
No, it's $1,000, I believe. I haven't built, you know, for a while, but $1,000 ain't going to touch it. No. You get it back if you don't bugger the concrete, right? Just a thing I wanted to bring up to you.
Another question, same one that I asked to Doug, and I'll be asking Sean as well, but on these variance applications, who do you feel who should be making the call? Should that be a council thing, or should that be just?
No, I think it should be maybe in the Southwest for sure, but in the new developments, no, that should be us making that call.
Okay.
You get your plans, we look at them, we approve your plans, they go to your people, and they do a permit application if we sign off on it. Because you got a mixed bag of people in there, Craig, not to say anything bad about them, but they're not in this business every day. They don't drive by that house every day that it's being under constructed. Or in your area, Southwest, yes, I agree with it. Or downtown area, you know, if they're doing a 6-unit or whatever.
Yep.
I don't know why you guys want to get involved in this variance personally in our areas. You're getting all the hell for it now. That helps.
Yeah, you got that right.
And I know it sucks for you.
Yeah.
They created us trouble, and they're creating you guys trouble.
So any other big points, Scotty? I got to get Sean on here to give him his floor.
That's good, and I appreciate you guys listening to us. It really helped.
Sounds good, buddy.
Oh, we don't have to talk about it around the beer anymore about you.
Why not? I don't have time for that. So.
Yeah, I hear you.
Kids.
Have a good one, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Scotty.
Yeah, you too.
Take care. We'll go to Sean. Hey, Sean. I think you're on mute.
There we go. Hello.
There you are. Gotcha.
Yeah. Thanks for the invite. I don't have a whole bunch more to add. Doug kind of covered quite a bit of it. My client, Audrey Hall, we've been kind of dealing with it for a couple months now. Started a little before Christmas, but it has been kind of, you get a couple things done and then you got a couple more to take care of. I must say that I've been dealing with Breland Joyce there, and she's been quite helpful getting through some of the stuff for sure, and a good contact for that portion of it for sure. So as Doug mentioned, Audrey is an older lady. She's not hitting 80 yet, but she's just I think she's about 72. But her concerns with the rear entry is the heavy snow. I mean, obviously no town in Canada plows their back alleys. So if she gets caught in her garage during a heavy snowstorm, she's not getting downtown. And as also mentioned, the elderly people aren't up to walk downtown to get their groceries and so on and so forth. So the front drive option is definitely the preferred method of build for Audrey for sure. We had the curb. I think you've driven by the lot Audrey's proposing to develop. The curb cut on that lot starts right at the inches off of the corner of the south property line. So I'm not sure how she can safely access her driveway and that tight to the property line and to make that corner. I mean, it suggested she move her house to the south, tight to the south line of the property line. She designed the house. She wants to have a side yard for her use and pleasure. She's going to have a bird bath and bird feeders and stuff. Her kitchen faces south on her drawing, so she wants to look out the window and see the birds in the bird bath. Also, to use that southern sun, she wants to have clothesline back there as well. I mean, so she's purposely set her house closer to the north property line for the use of that south sun and south yard there. It's also mentioned that the curb stop, the water line, you've got a bylaw in there. You got conflicting bylaws, I think, which got to be looked at. They say you can't put cement over your water service. And engineering went and looked at it, and they say that the position of the curb cut and the water stop are fine, which the curb stop is clearly within the curb cut. So, and you want me to put cement from the street to the sidewalk, how am I not going to put cement over that water line? And it doesn't angle into the lot. I'm sure we all know that when they put in your water service, it's a straight line from the street into your lot. So her driveway on the other side of the sidewalk is going to go over that water service. Now that's not uncommon. You can go around that, and you can go around High River, you can go around Calgary, and you'll find curb stops poured into sidewalks and cements everywhere. So there's kind of conflicting things there. But I mean, to have engineering come back and say that the existing curb cut and water line are to be used as is, but how do I use them as is and still pass by not putting any cement on it? So there's little discrepancies there. She is willing to, offset her garage, but we can still only move it another 1.4 meters. We have to remain a meter away from the property line. And so that's still even steep with that curb cut right at the south property line. To get a good driveway in there, your bylaws state it should be easily accessible for both people and pedestrians and safe for both to use. So with the kind of curves and angles that we'd be looking at there, I don't think that's a real good option there. So we had asked to make the curb cut bigger, and we'd be more than willing to use a portion of the existing curb cut and say half of it and enlarging from that half. There is a tree in the boulevard which comes into play, unfortunately. I'm not sure if it's a live tree or not. It doesn't look very healthy these days, but anyways, we'll see in the spring if it buds out. But if we need to, we'll replace the tree. But I mean, we're more than willing to work with it. Audrey's committed. She bought the lot. It's my understanding that the lot had been sold 3 times and put back 3 times because of people people running into these issues with the variances and the building requirements on the lot now. So that to me's got to say something to you there. So it kind of reiterates what, Doug's concern that maybe you're going to lose more people to filling these empty lots in town, as opposed to, they're going to go to Okotoks or Calgary or wherever because it's just simply easier to get your permit and build what you want. I don't think it's your guys' mandate, or I don't think you guys want to, but you're kind of telling people what they can and can't build. And I don't think any of you would appreciate that if you were in the same position either. So, I don't have much more else to say to that. I mean, I'm sure we'll get it figured out, but it definitely is a long process. I know I've built several homes in Calgary. I worked in the city for 15 years for an upper end home builder, and I know getting permits in the city of Calgary is certainly not as onerous as it has been in High River. But anyways, hopefully we can get this resolved. That's about all I have. Thanks for your time.
Sounds good. Thanks very much, Sean. Yeah, a lot of the same kind of things that Doug was talking about and with Scotty. So yeah, I have been by that, and that site specific kind of thing. That's the thing about this Southwest development, is that every lot has its different challenges with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Especially if trying to use existing cutouts that are that tight. I've got one right across the street from me that after you pointed that out, right across the street from me, it's the exact same thing. It's right on the property line. So yeah, how you use that now is a little bit challenging. So, appreciate it. Thanks, Sean.
Thank you.
Yeah, take care.
You too.
Any further questions from council? I see none, I hear none. I hereby declare this public hearing relating to 4594/2021 closed at 3:41 p.m. We'll move into Town Plan Steering Committee. Breland?
I'm just trying to get my video up here. 1 second, please. All right. Okay. Good afternoon. This bylaw before you will repeal and replace the steering committee bylaw that was passed in January 2020 for the preliminary review of the town plan. Since then, it's been determined that a full rewrite of the town plan is warranted, and having a steering committee for the full duration of the project would be beneficial. Because the duration of the steering committee is being extended, staff have proposed one more public member to bring the total number of public members to 4. Quorum has also been increased from 3 to 4 voting members to reflect this. This is more in keeping with the membership numbers for the Planning, Renewal, and Advisory Committee that participated in the Downtown Area Redevelopment Plan and Land Use Bylaw rewrite projects. If this bylaw is approved today, staff will carry out the recruitment process for the public members. The primary efforts for this recruitment process will include a public service announcement posted on the town's social media channels and website, as well as reaching out to local professional associations, asking them to share an announcement on their websites and in their newsletters to garner interest. This concludes my presentation. I would be happy to answer any questions council may have.
Any questions from council? Councilor Nychuk?
Thanks, Mayor Snodgrass. Just going through one thing that stuck out, and I know we had a chance to review this previously, but the piece on guiding principles, number 37, I think it was. Anyway, it talks about the project manager establishing the guiding principles. Is there something more to that? Who is the project manager and how are they exclusively determining the guiding principles to this? I'd like to see it just a little bit more influence than whoever might be the project manager on it. No disrespect to whoever that might be, but guiding principles to me are pretty important and holistic from a group, meaning administration and council, to all the parties involved, even to a certain degree the community. But it's hard to bring every member of the community in on building guiding principles. That's why we're elected and administration is employed to help do these things. But that's just something I picked up on. I don't know if you can give me anything on that, Bree, or thank you.
Yeah, so with this version of the bylaw, we added a definition for project manager, and that's the manager of planning and development services division or their delegate. So what we were doing with this is just trying to tie back the responsibility to the manager, our project manager. And I made a comment, I'm just trying to find it. It might have been in the council report itself, that those guiding principles will be developed through the RFP process and will be refined, I guess, once the project team's fully developed with the steering committee and the consultant. So there will be more buy-in than just the project manager creating a list and sending them for everyone. That was just to try to put some responsibility on one person in the terms of reference.
Okay, thanks for clarifying that. And I'd rather that the project manager, administration, members of the steering committee develop that guiding principle than the consultant. I don't want the consultant to tell us what our guiding principle is. I think our community decides what that guiding principle is. So just a comment to that piece that you mentioned RFP and developing the guiding principle there. And yeah, anyway, that's just my comment on it. Thank you.
No problem.
If I just say something, Mr. Mayor, I think I think Councillor Nychak got it right for sure. The guiding principle will be developed through the conversation process within the steering committee. The steering committee is the key stakeholder that will develop the guiding principles for sure. That doesn't even include the consultant. Yeah.
Thanks, Khalid.
Yeah.
No further questions. I'll ask for a motion from Councillor Kinghorn. The council give first reading to bylaw 4597/2021, and the council gives second reading to the previously mentioned bylaw. And the all council present give unanimous consent to proceed with third and final reading of the previously mentioned bylaw.
Thank you, Mayor Snodgrass. I will give you that motion.
All in favor? Any questions? Carried. Ask for a motion from Councillor Nychak. The council give third and final reading to bylaw 4597/2021.
I'll give you that motion, Mr. Mayor.
All in favor? Carried. And I'll ask for a motion from Councillor McMillan. The council direct administration to proceed with the recruitment process to establish membership of the steering committee in accordance with bylaw 4597/2021.
I'll give you that motion.
Thank you very much. All in favor? Carried. Thanks, Breland.
Thank you.
2020 reserve transfer, Leanna.
My apologies. I thought that we had the slab replacement first.
Do we?
Yeah.
No, we do?
Yeah.
Where? Well, let's do this one because the slab replacement. I don't see it on my script, Kara. I have it later on.
I apologize. I wonder if they've somehow gotten mixed up. My apologies.
I've got it. Yeah, like I've got slab replacement at 7.5 on my script here. So are you ready for slab replacement, Leanna?
I believe Riley is going to take the lead on this one, and I'll be here to support him.
Okay, Is everybody else's agenda say slab replacement is next? Yeah, let's do slab replacement. Go ahead, Riley.
All right. Just a quick background summary on how we got here. So we awarded a contract to GW Architecture in December to do the project for the town. So their scope is basically all the design and contract management on behalf of the town. The first step of design is to do a geotechnical study. Coming out of that geotechnical study was identified a number of issues with the ground material. And as they got into the design of the slab, they also identified some issues with the existing building that were complicating the design of the new slab. So as a result of frozen conditions underneath the slab, so we have up to 8 feet of frozen material. We have issues with shallow footing, with possible some fine migrations within the soils themselves, as well as some silty material and high water table has resulted in poor base materials. From that, they have proposed 2 solutions. One is to pin the existing foundation, so when things melt and materials are removed, the foundations don't shift. And secondly, making the structural slab, or making the new slab structural, which means basically supporting it with piles so it doesn't move or settle or shift in future. And so that's what they proposed. Attached to the report is a estimate of the fees as to do that. So that includes both design fees as well as construction fees. This also has an impact on schedule because this is quite a bit of extra work to do. It will push our completion out to December. And in the meantime, we are hoping to issue today or tomorrow the demo contract. So we've separated the contract to try and expedite as much of this as we can. So try and do the demo while we're doing design on the structural components. That does introduce a little bit of risk in that we don't have a final tendered price before we're actually doing demo. So we're actually planning on doing demo prior to tendering the second part because it'll be 2 contracts. And so there is some risk there in terms of we don't actually have a final tendered price. We're still working on estimates. And so that's kind of where we're at. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Riley. Councillor Kinghorn.
Thank you, Mayor Snodgrass. Riley, in your report, you talk about a heating system, a below ground heating system, I think you called it. Can you tell me what and it hasn't been working for 5 years. Can you tell me what the purpose of that is?
So underneath a refrigerated slab, you have a heating layer. It's about 24 inches underneath. And we keep it, well, you're supposed to keep it so you don't, it heats the ground so you don't get any frost. Because once you get frost under the ground, then you start getting issues with heaving and motion of that slab. Because you have a slab on top, that frost also penetrates much deeper than you would normally see, and it stays there for a long time because our off season is so short, the frost never actually fully comes out, which is why we're still seeing 8 feet of frost there right now. So it's essentially there to prevent frost getting in the ground and shifting foundations or the slab when it comes back out, because this is it's only a slab on grade.
So presumably this ask is going to repair that heat system as well. It sounds like it's pretty critical to the lifespan of that slab.
Correct. That was the original scope, was replacement of that. It didn't run for about 5 years. It did run last year. We're not sure why it wasn't running.
Thank you.
Councillor McMillan.
Thank you very much, Mayor Snodgrass, and thank you, Riley. Does this budget, I've got 3 questions. Does this budget include the consultant's recommendation for the HDPE that they say that they're very much proponents of the high density polyethylene fusion system?
Yes. I don't think in discussions with the consultant, HDPE pipe makes the most sense. And changing out the pipe types, I don't believe has a huge impact on pricing anyway. We have to put pipe in regardless. And so it doesn't have a huge impact on price.
Yeah, because there was quite a lengthy paragraph about them advocating for that. And on another, the Shelby engineering report, 4.1.2, they talk about the driven steel piles could cause damage to nearby structures. So my question there is, how safe would, for example, Home Hardware be, or like Summit Physiotherapy?
I'd have to get back to you on that one. I don't know if it would have an impact that far, to be honest. I think it would be more the immediate area with the walls surrounding the slabs, the pool, that kind of vicinity. Depends on the size. Given that we haven't actually designed the piles yet, we're not quite sure of how big that impact would be or how big a hammer we would use, or even if we'll drill the piles and pour them in place. And so it isn't necessarily a given we're going to even use hammered piles. We may use drilled in place piles.
Okay, because I was wondering about the integrity of the pool as well with that. And then my final question is on 4.4 regarding radon considerations. Does the budget include enough for radon mitigation?
That I don't know. I would assume it does. That shouldn't be a big cost, to be honest, having done radon systems in the past. We don't have the design on that done yet, so I can't comment, but historically that's not a huge cost.
Okay, thank you.
Riley? If that pool leaks, I tell you what. Councilor Nychuk.
Thanks, Mayor Snodgrass. Coming back to that heating system and the fact that you're going to go to a structural slab, why do you need the heating system then? Because theoretically, if you do that structural slab appropriately, you're not going to have the problem with the frost underneath, right? That's slab on grade right now heaves, right? Because the ground moves. So if you go to structural slab, why will you have to put the heat back in the ground? That's one question.
I'd have to get back to you on that one, actually. I presume it's because they still don't want the impact on the piles or the adjacent structures like the pool or the walls or the frost walls around the perimeter. I assume that's what the issue is, but I'd have to check on that.
Yeah, please, because it just seems maybe like an expense that doesn't need to be there. It's like you bought a car and you're getting a, you know, something you don't want in the car, but you're paying for it anyway. And then these pinnings on the wall. If that area of that building has a problem with weak, shallow footings, how much of a concern do we have for the rest of the building? I can't imagine that problem is specific to that one segment of the recplex, but I could be wrong.
Well, you're correct. But I got two things that are, I guess, increasing the exposure for this particular project. The wall between the two slabs, so the small and the curling, is only, that frost wall is only 24 inches, presumably because they assumed it was an interior wall and it would never experience freezing, which it has. And then secondly, we're actually removing the slabs, and the slabs provide horizontal support to those walls. Okay. So we have two issues that are basically freeing the walls to move. And so as that ice melts underneath, and as we experience issues with water table or whatnot, whether it's because of the ice or because it's spring, the material type is of such that it could allow movement of that wall. And that's what we're really concerned about. other portions of the building, they're already in place. We're not exposing anything. The only other issues where we'd see issues with ice is on the large. So when we tear that slab out, we may run into similar issues. But for now, I mean, the slab is still in the large ice. And until you pull that out, I don't think you're going to have too much of an issue at that point. Until that point, sorry.
Thanks, Riley. I get that. Thank you. That was my misreading or misunderstanding. We're really just talking about the interior wall on that pinning, not the exterior wall.
There's concern about the exterior ones, especially when we start digging down. But the interior wall is the larger concern.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it.
No further questions. I think one point that I'll bring up for council when we're looking at this additional funding, $630,000 right now with what we know, but I think when you're making this your choice on this motion, you should probably have $1 million sitting in the back of your head, because this is construction. It's a renovation to an existing building. We all know how those projects go. So this is what we know right now. Hopefully it stays there. But if, we're into this thing now, I think they've done enough drills and possibly wrecked some pipes and everything. So I don't think we're rewinding this thing, but I'm not going to be surprised if they get into it once the tracos show up and we're into it for a little bit more. So that being said, this is still the time, and we're doing very, very well on this project to get this thing done, because this is a floor that's been needing replacement for at a minimum 20 years, and it has to get done. And the fact that we have a $1.7 million grant from the provincial government to help us get this done, even with the cost increases that would be there regardless, now's the time to do it. And now's the time we're still getting this done for 50% of the cost of what it would have cost this town to do it previously. So, but just know that the 630, yeah, it's a reno and a construction project. So we all know what we're into. That being said, I'll ask for a motion from Councillor Kinghorn that council approve additional funding for the project in the amount of $629,651. That will come from the Community Reinvestment Fund for a total project budget of $2.3 million.
Thank you, Mayor Snodgrass. I will give you that motion.
Thank you. All in favor? Motion's carried. Thanks, Riley.
Thank you.
Now we go back to the donation. Is that right? Yes. Leanna?
So I have the 2020 reserve transfer update, not the donation.
Not the donation, sorry.
I know you'd like me to do all the reports, but I'd like the experts in those fields to present those ones.
Okay. You're on right now. Can we get this one done?
Yes, we can. So as we have now completed our 2020 year end, with our policy that we have in place, the restricted surplus policy, policy number POL-16-109, council must approve any transfers by resolution. So we have done a number of approvals by resolution, the transfers, when we did the operating and capital budget, when we did the budget amendments. What we haven't done is just the details in between. So basically what this report is doing is capturing all of the transfers that have happened to and from the reserves, ensuring that we are clear and transparent with council and the community. And we are looking for amended transfer to reserves in the amount of $8,057,694.05, and the amended transfers from reserves of $665,235.57. I'm prepared to walk you through on a line-by-line basis, if you'd like.
Not for me. Anybody else? Nope. We got it in front of us. We're good, Leanna.
Okay.
Any questions from council? Councillor McMillan.
Thank you very much, Mayor Snodgrass, and thank you very much, Leanna. So we've gone from 3.44 million to 8.05. Is that correct?
That is correct. One of the big adjustments that we did was about a month ago when we transferred $4,350,000 from the operating surplus from 2020. We put $4 million into the tax stabilization fund, and we put $350,000 into the general municipal for the RCMP retro payment. So that is the majority of that one.
Okay, thanks for reminding me about the RCMP payments, as well as, this might seem like a ridiculous question, but I'm just wondering, who's our provincial liaison for $11,000, or what is that?
This was a program that Camrose and Shelley and her team had been working on, and this was the final portion of it. So we had money put into reserve because we hadn't spent it. And then with the budget amendment in 2020, when we did the Family Resource Network changes, and then the final, we had the final amounts of what we had left in the provincial liaison program to spend.
So that is specifically for that Family Resource Center, or is this something that fluctuates with different projects?
That is a specific project that was handled through Community Support Services.
Okay. So a provincial liaison funding isn't always on.
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Thanks so much, Leanna.
You're welcome.
No further questions. I'll ask for a motion from Councillor McMillan. The council approve the amended transfers to reserves in the amount of $8,057,694.05. And the council approve the amended transfer from reserves in the amount of $665,235.57.
I'll give you that motion.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Thanks very much, Leanna. Scuba gear donations. Cody?
Afternoon, Mayor and Council. I come before you this afternoon to seek a resolution from Council on the donation of our used SCBA equipment, or self-contained breathing apparatus. 2021 budget, capital budget, our new SCBA equipment was approved, and actually, as of about 20 minutes ago, dropped off at the station. So our old equipment will be surplus to us. From the perspective of trying to sell it, we're looking at potentially, if we're lucky, getting about $1,500 for the equipment from auction. The Cedar Leduc just put the pretty much exact same amount of equipment up, and that's about what they got out of it. We found a organization in Alberta called Alberta Fire Aid Society, and they take used fire equipment and donate it to less fortunate departments. Most of it stays within Canada. They have had some overseas missions, but most of it's in Canada, where they support departments that don't have decent equipment. So they fix the equipment up and then donate it off to them. So what we're looking to do is donate this equipment to Alberta Fire Aid for them to find a opponent to have the donation gifted to them to help keep their guys safe. Any questions?
Thanks, Cody. Just to clarify, this is not scuba gear.
This is not scuba. This is self-contained breathing apparatus, air packs.
Scuba.
Right.
Any questions for Cody? As for a motion from Councillor Moore, the council approved the administration to donate the surplus self-contained breathing apparatus to the Alberta Fire Aid Society.
I will make that motion.
Thanks very much. All in favor? Carried. Thanks, Cody.
Thank you.
We are on to CCMC, is that right? Yep, got it.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and Council. The purpose of this presentation is to review the town's tenant leases for space at the Charles Clark Medical Center, or CCMC building over on 9th Avenue. This includes 4 agreements that expire on December 20th, 2021 for Studio A that has no option to renew, Studio B with an option to renew for an additional 5 years, the FCSS office with an option to renew for an additional 5 years, and the Family Center, which was formerly the Parent Link Center, with an option to renew for an additional 5 years. The review of these tenant lease agreements allows for the town to maximize the use of municipal space, manage resources efficiently, and steward taxpayers' dollars effectively. As included in the council package, there are a number of agreements that support the partnership between the town, Foothills County, and the CC Medical Center Limited that brought this facility to reality about 12 years ago was when this was initially first brought to the forefront for council to consider. I won't go any further into those details. However, I can answer any questions that council may have. As also indicated in your council package, proceeding with administration's recommendation to terminate the community studio leases for Studio A and Studio B will save the town over $150,000 a year in lease costs. Further, administration is recommending that the town renegotiates the lease agreements for FCSS and the Family Center, so these important municipal facilities have permanent homes within municipally owned facilities, specifically to renew the FCSS lease for a term of 2 to 3 years and to review the local current market rates, as well as renewing the Family Center lease to review current local market rates, as well as include the negotiation of the transfer of ownership of just under 1,300 square feet of the Family Center to the town. That would ensure that the town owns the entire Family Center space, as right now we do not pay rent for 2,500 square feet. However, the space is about 3,800 square feet. The above agreements and recommendations were reviewed with council at closed meetings on February 23rd and March 22nd. On March 22nd is when council provided direction by passing a resolution stating that council direct administration to begin negotiations with CC Medical Center Limited. Since that direction, I have connected with both CC Medical Center Limited and Foothills County to advise these agreements are being considered by council for direction moving forward past December 20th, 2021. The town will continue to support the CCMC building by providing ongoing maintenance of the parking lot, sidewalks and walkways, landscaping, snow removal from the parking lot, sidewalks and walkways, as well as inspection and maintenance for the adjacent playground. All of these recommendations are in line with the town's real property policy to ensure cost-effective management of assets, transparency, equal opportunity, due process, and fairness to all parties. With that high-level summary, are there any questions regarding this information or the included recommendations?
Well done, that's a big one. Thanks, Jody. Councillor Masterman.
Thanks, Mayor Snodgrass, and Jody, thanks for the report. So I know you've explained this to us before. Can you explain how the town can unofficially own 2,500 square feet? Like unofficially, like I just don't get that concept.
Absolutely. So the initial intent of the project was that it would be condoized or turn into a strata, which then would allow for different areas of one building to be owned by different owners. That process was never completed. It was cost prohibitive at the time. However, now it really makes sense for the town to have official ownership or official title to the 2,500 square feet. But we're going a little bit further to say, why 2,500 square feet? If it could be the same footprint as the actual family center, that would make the most sense. So that is the short answer as to why we unofficially own 2,500 square feet. The way it works right now is within the tenant lease. We simply do not pay rental or lease costs for 2,500 square feet. We only pay the operating fees for the 2,500, and then we pay lease and operating on the remaining 1,297 square feet.
Okay, thanks so much, Jody. That does help, and I appreciate all your hard work on this file too. It's been a good one. So thanks for walking us through that.
Councillor McMillan.
Thank you, Mayor Snodgrass, and thank you very much, Jody. And just more of a comment, kind of mirrors Councillor Masterman's, is I just wanted to say how much I appreciate you and your team's hard work with this particular issue, as well as I've always appreciated how very clear the reports have been to make sense out of this. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
No further questions. So I'll ask for a motion from Councillor Cooey that council direct administration to provide notice to CCMC Limited that the town will not be renewing the lease agreements for Studio A and Studio B upon termination on December 20th, 2021, and the council direct administration to negotiate a short-term renewal of the lease agreement that terminates on December 20th, 2021 for FCSS between 1 and 3 years and negotiate a lease rate that reflects current local rates, and the council direct administration to negotiate the purchase of approximately 1,297 square feet within the family center, which represents the balance of the tenant space in addition to the 2,500 square feet of the town that the town already unofficially owns, for a total of 3,797 square feet for town ownership within the CCMC building. And that council direct administration to negotiate a lease rate that reflects current local rates for the family center until ownership of the entire tenant space is finalized.
I will give you that very detailed motion. Thanks for reading it.
You're so welcome. All in favor? Carried. Well done. Thanks very much, Jody.
Thank you.
The next one is just the proclamation on the National Volunteer Week. We do it every year. Kieran, you're all gung-ho to say something about it, hey? You've got your camera on, you're ready to rip.
Yeah, I'm ready. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I'm before you today to recommend that Council authorizes the Mayor to sign the proclamation for the 2021 National Volunteer Week. The town of High River has historically recognized National Volunteer Week through a proclamation. Along with this proclamation, the town holds a flag-raising celebration to recognize and appreciate the volunteers in town and the work that they do. This recommendation is in line with the Town of High River's committee and board member management policy, which recognizes the essential role that volunteers play in our community. If Council chooses to authorize the Mayor to sign the proclamation, staff will arrange for it to be signed and posted to the town's website and prepare it to be used at the flag-raising ceremony, which will live stream on social media. I'm now available for any questions from Council.
Councillor McMillan. Thanks, Kieran.
Thank you, Mayor Snodgrass, and thank you very much, Kieran. I just have one suggestion on the actual proclamation on the, where is it? The third and whereas, where it says, and whereas High River's volunteers are young, old, families, workers, retirees, men and women of all ages and backgrounds. I was just thinking with the way 2021, I just thought maybe we could have something like, and whereas High River's volunteers are from a variety of ages and backgrounds, so it's inclusive.
Yeah, I can make that note if Council wants to make that change.
Is Council kind of in favor of that? I was just thinking that way to make it all inclusive.
Yeah, I like it. Good catch.
Thank you.
Keep it simple.
Yeah. Okay, I'll ask for a motion from Councillor Kinghorn. The council authorized the mayor to sign the proclamation for the 2021 National Volunteer Week.
Thank you, Mayor Snodgrass. I'd be pleased to make that motion. All of them are well deserved.
All in favor? Carried. Now order. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now the recipients. Back to you, Karen.
Good afternoon again. I'm before you to discuss the volunteer nominations for the 2021 Volunteer Awards. The annual Volunteer of the Year Awards are an annual opportunity for the town to recognize and thank all the volunteers in High River. All nominees and recipients are invited to attend the Stars of High River volunteer event that is held on April 22nd, 2021, where a brief description is shared about the recipients' volunteer efforts and they're presented with the award. Due to COVID-19, the town is hosting a virtual award ceremony this year. The individuals will be recognized during the virtual event, and then arrangements will be made following the event for the recipient to receive their formal award. Administration is recommending the following recipients: Adult, Corrine Lowen; Senior, Beverly Zielk and Ev Doherty; Business, Mr. Mike's Steakhouse; Family Group, Lorraine and Bonnie; and Youth, Kylie Rickard. I am now available for any questions for council.
Thanks again, Karen. Any questions from council? Ask for the motion from Councillor Masterman that council award the 2021 Volunteer of the Year Awards to be the following individuals. In the adult category, Corrine Lowen. In the senior category, we have 2, Beverly Zelke and Ev Doherty. Business, Mr. Mike's Steakhouse. Family Group, Lorraine and Bonnie. And in the youth category, Kaylee Reichert.
Yes, Mayor Snodgrass, thank you. I'll very happily make that motion.
Just so everybody's aware, in the senior category, it came down to the 2 of them, and there was absolutely no way we could separate it with the volunteerism that both Bev and Ev bring to High River. So we're awarding it to both of these individuals. Motion's on the floor. All in favor? Carried. Is that all the main meeting, Kara?
That is, yes, you're on to councillor reports.
Okay. So we'll go into the coal policy update. So can't remember what date that was, but Minister Savage has announced that the committee that will be handling the public consultation regarding coal development in Alberta, that committee has been formed. And that there's a survey going on right now, which is not the actual, and everybody's got to be clear, it's not the actual public consultation. What the survey is doing right now is gathering information that the committee will be using to create the actual public consultation for coal development. So that's what's going on right now. But more importantly, there is still activity that will be going on. I think it starts at the end of the month by these coal companies. One has chosen to halt their exploration activities, but that's just because their share price is tanked. That's what Atrium Coal, they will not be doing any exploration work. But other projects like one of the Montam ones, as well as Cabin Ridge Coal, they are going to be doing exploration work in our eastern slopes, as well as up north, I think off the Ram River. There's another one, Valerie, I think they'll be doing some exploration as well. So these are all in category 2 lands. That's the critical piece to this. And we need the Premier and Minister Savage to put a stop to that exploration while we are going through this public consultation. There's no point in doing exploration when we don't know what the future of this coal mining actually looks like, if that's exactly where we're headed. And Albertans are actually going to be able to define how this resource is or is not extracted. So that's why I think it's imperative that the town of High River continues to lead this. And so I'll be asking for a motion to request Premier Kenny and Sonia Savage, Minister Savage, to ask the Alberta Energy Regulator to stop these exploration activities. Any questions before I read out the long motion? Let's just get at it. Sorry, go ahead, Bruce.
Yeah, sorry, Craig, or Mayor Snodgrass, a little slow on the update. Yeah, I just wanted to point out the survey, which it is so important that people fill it out and fill it out honestly. It's a very tricky survey in some ways, in that it's kind of, some of the questions are kind of leading questions, and a lot of the critics of the survey have pointed out that that they seem to want to be leading the people responding to the survey to agreeing to some kind of coal development. And so I just wanted to point out that it's really important that there are places on the survey that you can actually write a longer response if you're unsure how you want to rank something. Then you can just put your response a longer response. So and the other thing I wanted to say was, I think the motion, Mr. Mayor, is going to be asking us to urge other municipalities to complete the survey, and along with the exploration stop work. A lot of municipalities have done that already, have sent the Premier and the Energy Minister letters, but it would be great to if they all did. And on the survey, I believe only Alberta residents are able to fill it out. That's my understanding. So I know in our last big mail out, it also went to Manitoba, Saskatchewan municipalities. So we might want to just be aware of that when we're sending out that part of it. So thanks very much.
Perfect. Thanks, Bruce. Yeah, and another important thing is that when it's going out to these other municipalities, and for the community to understand that a lot of people think that because Minister Savage put the coal policy back in place, that this issue has been dealt with and it's all good and we're doing public consultation. And we are so far away from the finish line on this thing. We are a few years away from this, in my mind. So there's a lot of work to be doing yet, but good couple of points when we're going out to the other municipalities that it's Alberta municipalities. Thanks, Bruce. So the recommendation, I'll make the motion that council request administration to draft a letter to be signed by the mayor and sent to Premier Jason Kenney and Minister Sonia Savage to direct the Alberta Energy Regulator to stop all activities associated with coal exploration permits on the Category 2 lands that were approved prior to February 8th, 2021. And that due to the public consultation that has begun regarding coal mining on the eastern slopes, it only makes sense that these coal exploration projects be put on hold until final decisions have been made regarding the extraction of coal on the eastern slopes of Alberta, or the elimination of extraction of coal. The destruction caused by exploration greatly affects our landscapes and our watersheds. And further, that administration drafts a letter to be signed by the mayor and sent to all municipalities throughout Alberta, encouraging them to also send letters to Premier Kenney and Minister Savage supporting the stoppage of exploration activities on the eastern slopes. The town of High River also encourages all Alberta municipalities to participate fully in the ongoing public consultation process. Currently, we are going through phase 1 of this process, which gathers information that the committee will use to draft the actual public consultation. So I'll make that motion, make it easy. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you very, very much. Continue on. And we'll go to item 8.2 that was added, being a COVID update. And I just looked quickly, so I'll let Chris speak to some of the regulations and restrictions. But currently, right now, in our local area, I didn't look at Foothills County, but High River, we are at 57 cases, and Okotoks is 151. Floor is yours, Chris.
Thank you, Mayor Snodgrass. So just a quick update. As everybody's aware, the process is still kind of fluid right now. Last week, they had announced on Wednesday that they were restricting user groups to 1 user group per playing surface. And on Thursday, they retracted that. So we had to make some adjustments from that perspective as it applied to the field house. So the pool is in the process of being opening for April the 14th to household bookings and one-on-one training. And then programming will be kicking in April 19th for swim lessons within the restrictions that are governed by Alberta Health Services, limited to 10 people or less. With the field house, we're still focused on youth user groups. Adult fitness groups are still not permitted. They are required to have, we are allowed to have adults or households in there on a one-on-one training perspective. And the walking track, I believe, Riley, correct me if I'm wrong, is still going to be maintained, being open when the lacrosse is not using the field house from that perspective. And everything has to be pre-booked before you come in. There is no drop-in from that perspective on any of these activities. Right now, under step 1, there's pretty strict restrictions as it relates to adults. So there's very limited what adults can do indoors, but certainly outdoors. Both the tennis courts and the pickleball courts and the other facilities are available for outdoor fitness with adults from that perspective, provided physical separation is maintained of 2 meters when playing tennis or pickleball or any other sport from that perspective. Team sports and games are still prohibited as well. So everything that the youth are doing right now is focused on practice and skill development. And that's kind of where we stand from that perspective. Patios, we're seeing a huge increase in patio requests. Chatting with planning department this morning, we're seeing some more applications come in. So we're working on getting those those processes streamlined so that those can be issued relatively quickly, and allow those businesses to continue some kind of activity as they go through this shutdown from that perspective. We're expecting the shutdown to be about 4 weeks. Maximum, and maybe it might be longer depending on how residents react and citizens of Alberta react. We anticipate the work from home order will stay in place until at least the end of June, and if not longer from that perspective, with all non-essential staff working from home from that perspective for the town's operations. So we are seeing increased levels of activity within the office spaces for individuals. Coming in, picking up files and spending a half day here, half day there from that, and meeting with clients and doing site inspections. So we are seeing that take place. So that's kind of where we sit right now. After move back to step 1 at beginning part of last week. And we'll still continue monitoring what's going on.
Thanks, Chris. Riley? There, your hand up.
Sorry, just going to clarify the walking track quickly. It is open to family bookings, which in reality is usually singles. So we do 1 single at a time. We were allowing 2 bookings up to last week. So it's just 1 at a time now. And we let them book 45 minutes at a time. And then that gives us 15 minutes for cleaning in between.
Thanks, Riley. Carol?
Thank you very much. And thank you, Chris. And I just kind of wanted to explain, because Chris and I had talked about having a regular update for educational purposes, but I also kind of want to see where my perspective of this is the advocacy piece as well, because just thinking about how we're receiving letters from people who are scared or unhappy or unsettled. And just thinking before I was on council, I used to write letters to the government and whatnot, and I'd get that pat little, reply back. And I'm just thinking about, when you think about the coal policy is a very good example. There were a lot of citizens writing into the government long before mayor and councils from all over were on top of it. And yet they weren't getting any traction. Whereas when the municipalities with the mayors and councils came on board, that's when things happened. So I think where I'm coming from with having a little bit of a COVID discussion is that when we're receiving letters from people, and it doesn't mean we have to necessarily agree with them, but I think that because different levels of government communicate with each other, that I could see why citizens would be sending us letters. And I think instead of us telling them to just submit to their MLA, that we could actually forward it on to Roger specifically, because they tend to listen and people just want to feel heard as well. And I don't mind sharing a personal experience. Like, my husband has sent so many letters to John Barlow, gets that pat little reply. I message John, boom, I hear back. So I'm just thinking about having some clarity for citizens so that they know that we care, and that, the community advocacy piece. My other question that I guess I'm kind of querying is, Chris, when a business fails or closes, do we ever have a formal process about hearing about it? Or is it just that one day we see it's just?
No formal process, Councillor McMillan.
Okay. So I guess thinking about the business advocacy piece, I'm just wondering if maybe Janelle's position could also, because I know we don't have a formal ECDev department, but with it being community ECDev, that maybe we could have a little bit of a business liaison, kind of like just to check in as a health, like a business health report card. How are people doing with this random? Because a lot of, I think it, once again, it just so shows that we care about the community. And I don't think that should be up to councillors. I know when we go in, we can ask about businesses, but I think it would be really kind of nice for us to have some stats about which businesses are struggling, which ones, like I know through Community Futures and stuff with some, but that would just be another one of my key requests, if that's possible. And then I guess my third point is, because I am reached out all the time from people who are very, very concerned when they hear the numbers. And I'm just wondering if we can get some detailed numbers from Alberta Health Services that actually state how many people are in the hospital or how many are asymptomatic. And because why I'm bringing this up is, for example, when I'm teaching my yogis who are seniors via Zoom, when they hear like 57, they get quite fearful and they get very stressed. And I think that's for everyone in the community to make you hear the numbers. But I would actually like to see how many, if any of those, are actually hospitalized. Because I think that's just putting things in perspective. This is an extremely serious virus. I get that. And I know the variants are serious. But I'm trying to also help people's mental well-being and alleviate some of this excessive stress that I'm seeing with citizens. And I think it would just be helpful that we would know that. And it's not getting into FOIP, but it's just saying, you know what? Let's say hypothetically, there's 0 people in hospital right now. So at least it helps alleviate some of the concerns, because people's stress levels are just skyrocketing. And I don't think any of us saw that this would still be in this well into a year. And so that's just where I'm coming from as an advocacy component. And I appreciate that it could be on the agenda on a regular basis, because as we know, it's a very fluid situation and things are changing. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Councillor McMillan. So I'll weigh in on the business liaison person. Like, how would that work? And
well, in Carol's ideal world, how it would work, is just kind of taking a list of businesses and just reaching out, just seeing how, because we're not there to help, because we've all said it, municipal government, no government needs to be in people's businesses. But it's just kind of checking in to see, perhaps they don't know about the resources available to them, or also just to say, hey, you're on our radar. We know this must be very challenging, because that's one thing, Mayor Snodgrass and, Councillor Nychuk, you have industries that are very stable. Like, that's the thing, right? And that's a good thing for people who have strong industries and healthcare. But for example, even myself, I'm not teaching yoga in person now. So that's a decrease in my salary per se. And I have food on my table, but I think it's just a case of, I think a lot of these, I think the psychological component for these businesses, that it's constantly in flux, just like all of us, like just even on all the other mandates. But I just think that, I don't know, to show that we care about our community. And yeah, so it might sound all fluffy, but I don't know. That's how I see it.
Yeah, and every business is dealing with this, Councillor McMillan. I can't do funerals. That's a massive hit on us. I don't think
exactly.
So.
And I apologize. I'm sorry, Craig. I didn't mean any disrespect.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I guess where I'm at is this something that we should be paying staff to do? Because I'm not hearing it from our business community. I'm not hearing that, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So paying staff, or is this something that council can do? Is to, reach out to the businesses rather than, because that would be a very big job for Janelle to take on, because every one of those phone calls is half an hour to an hour. They're not 5-minute phone calls. That's what I'm thinking. And we can talk about it more. There's no question.
You've clarified it very well. Like, I guess my question was, I as a counselor have no problem in reaching out. I didn't want to feel like I'm stepping on town toes, so I'm fine with that.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I think that's the way to actually do it. And the one business we've been dealing with directly, she told me the other day that she said, and this has nothing to do with COVID, a little bit, but it's one of the patios downtown. And she said, yeah, a number of us businesses, we kind of get together and, talk about it. And we, everybody's kind of got some concerns with what's going on in the town and everything. And well, have you talked to anybody in the town? No, we just kind of talk amongst ourselves. Well, what's the point? Like, why? So I said, why don't you invite me? Like, I'd love it. It's a Zoom call, or invite me. I can answer some of those questions, or at least take your concerns and do something with them. If you're a group of 5 businesses all with the same complaint, and it only stays within those 5 businesses, there's nothing we can do. It doesn't go anywhere. So it's that kind of stuff. So absolutely, I encourage all councillors to reach out to the business owners that and stop in or stop by, whatever, and see how they're doing. And rather than that'd be a big job for staff to take that on. We got busy people.
Thanks. Here. I greatly appreciate that.
And I'm glad you're putting this on the council reports as a council meeting update. Councilor Cooey.
Thanks. Riley, just a question for clarification. What does sanitizing the walking track entail between users? There just doesn't seem to me to be a lot of touch points there. So I'm just curious what that entails.
I have to get back to you, to be honest. I think it's just the floor. We run the cleaner around the circle.
Okay.
I think that's it, but I can verify that and update you.
Yeah, not a big deal, Riley, just curious.
Councillor Masterman?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Snodgrass and Councillor McMillan. I just wanted to really quickly say I appreciate your concerns around COVID, but you know, anybody with access to the internet can find out in about 2 minutes how many cases there are in High River. When I see that there's 62 cases and yesterday there was 55 or whatever, to me it's enough to know cases are increasing. The numbers are going in the wrong direction. I don't really care how many people are in hospital. I just know that these are active cases, and I'm not sure it should make a lot of difference to people to know that they're in the hospital or they're recovering at home in isolation or whatever, because we just need people to keep their guard up and keep doing the things that Alberta Health is asking us to do. And obviously there's a lot of concern, and I know it's affecting everybody's lives and mental health and everything else. But I just think that it really is up to people. I'm often seen on Facebook, you know, well, how many cases does High River have? You know, almost in the time it took them to write that on Facebook, they could have found that number. And I really think it's up to all of us to track these things and keep track of them if we're interested. And if we don't care, fine. But the numbers are there, and they're really readily available, updated numbers. And you know, I'm not saying they couldn't be doing more, but right now, you know, I think we all just have to be aware of which way the numbers are going.
No further questions on that. We'll move into council correspondence requiring action. The first one, Seniors Week Community Declaration. I think that's something we do every year, isn't it, Kara? That one we can proceed with.
I think we did it last year, and so this was a request that we actually received directly from the province. So we have no concerns if council wants to proceed with this proclamation.
Okay. All good from council? Any concerns? The next one, the proclamation request for 2021 Falun Dafa Day anniversary. This one I do have concerns with, as it's a political movement. Kara and Chris, you understand a little bit more about it, but I do have concerns with us weighing in on this one.
I'll maybe turn it over to Chris. He's more informed on this one.
Yes, certainly this is a combination of both a religious kind of movement as well as a political one regarding this group being treated within China. So it's Falun Gong, and then this is their anniversary. It's not a local group. It's from the city of Calgary, and so that's something to bear in mind as well. So.
I don't know, any concerns from council? I at the very least need more information on this one, so I think we'll pass on that one. Item 9.3, letter of support request from High River Performing Arts Foundation Board. I think that one's fairly easy support letter for getting those guys. Anything they're trying to do to get going, I think is important that we support that, because I think we all do. So we can proceed with that one as well. Kara? Council correspondence for information. Airport stuff, anything you got to say, Councillor Kinghorn?
Thank you, Mayor Snodgrass. Nothing that I need to add to those. If there's questions about anything that was submitted, certainly I'm prepared to answer.
Good. Submitted as information in your agenda, so I think we're all good. Thank you very much. Meeting adjourned at 4:49 PM. Thank you.